Welcome everyone to the Steve Perryman podcast. As ever, we have in attendance for us tonight Howard and Tom. Welcome, you two.
Hi.
Hey.
So lots have happened since last time we were on this podcast, and to think that we might be rusty, or you could call it we've all had a little bit of drink, being 23rd of December. This will be coming out on Christmas Eve. So you take from it what you want. Since I spoke to you last time, I've had a birthday, now 71 years of age. Howard's soon to catch me up. Is that right, Howard?
13 days time, yes.
13 days time, great. So I've had a birthday, I've had a haircut, I've had COVID, but now over it, and bought a book out and watched the World Cup, which is all very exciting other than the COVID, I have to say. So, chaps, let's talk about the World Cup. Did you enjoy what you saw, Howard?
Yes, I did. I enjoyed it more than I expected to. I thought it was a very good standard of football. I think the only kind of queries were that almost every team seems to play the same system now. So yeah. I know that I'm going to spend half my life watching the two centre halves pass into each other before anything actually happens.
That's the modern game, Howard.
Yeah. Overall, I thought the quality of the football was very good. Yeah. The final was astonishing. I mean, just an incredible game. And
yeah,
does anything for everyone.
That will overshadow everything, won't it? The quality of that final. Yeah. That was just amazing. In general, Tom, how did you see it?
Yeah, same. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I was feeling quite resentful about it when it happened. Not looking at any of the kind of political reasons, but purely the fact it kind of came in the middle of the football season. Spurs had just beaten Leeds 4-3, and then suddenly it's off to watch an international tournament, which everyone's feeling a bit weird about. But I actually thought that it was just enjoyable from start to finish. Every round had some amazing games, loads of penalties, so many penalties. But no, I was really surprised at how much I actually just enjoyed watching the games. I think compared to some of the international football we've endured rather than enjoyed over the last few years, it was really great to watch. So yeah, very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, so I liked the refereeing, not all of it. I felt that England were a bit hard done by on the referee stakes, but I like the fact that they are all going down the same route of letting the game flow and not just reacting to a player going to ground. So I really like that part of it. But as you said, lots of penalties and, of course, penalty shootouts at various stages. So yeah, any players that you really stood out for you, Howard?
The bald-headed Moroccan central midfield player, Arabat, or whatever his name was. Yeah. He looked pretty solid to me. The rest of them, I found it quite interesting that a lot of them are English Premier League players. But I look at them and I think, well, I don't think we should try and get those players. It seems to me that there's a lot of those players who are fine for the World Cup final, wonderful as it is, but they wouldn't be any good on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis.
Yeah. And Tom, any particular player you think stood out and would fit in at Tottenham, for instance?
I mean, as Howard says, there was quite a few who I think the teams all played well as units. It was almost like there weren't that many individual players who stood out from the games that I saw anyway. But I think Mac Allister, the Brighton guy playing for Argentina, was excellent. And he was. There's a few conversations saying, "Oh God, did we get the wrong midfielder from Brighton last summer?" But he certainly showed that he could do something on the biggest stage, and I think a lot of people will be watching him for the rest of the season at Brighton.
Absolutely. Howard, were you pleased for Ozzy and Ricky that Argentina won it in the end?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Always going to be one of my favourite countries for that very reason.
Yeah. And France, sort of, we went a bit anti-France, didn't we?
Yes.
With regard to the semi-final defeat and some referee decisions that I mentioned earlier. But I think that in the end they were good value, and yet just shows you they lost the first game and were struggling in the second one.
Yep.
Took some messy magic to get them through, didn't it?
Yeah, lost to Saudi Arabia, didn't they? First game.
Lost to Saudi,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I bet Ozzy was pleased. Ricky, I'm sure. Poch, I'm sure they were celebrating in their own way. I actually spent the evening with Ozzy at a friend's house when we went out to France. So that was a particularly sort of disappointing evening, of course. But yeah, so be it. I was surprised about all the calling for the manager's head. Did you see it the same way, or did you think it's right for him to be changed at this point?
I thought I didn't ever think there's any question about it. I think he's done a really good job creating a different atmosphere amongst that group of players. And to suspect that he leaves now, I think would be crazy. Except that if we don't do well in the next qualifying rounds for the next games, if we don't do well, the media will be on his back. And that's the only question is, if you're a manager of England, can you cope with what's going to come your way?
Yeah, because that can be very cruel.
Yeah.
He looks like a very sensible manager.
Yes.
He's not getting overexcited either way in defeat, or, it was very, very realistic when we had a sort of a poor game, the second game. So I like that in him. I like that in him. If people doubt his flair to pick an attacking team, for instance, but I think he did most things right. And when you think about our European Cup situation, I mean, again, he did almost everything right until it come to the penalties, and penalties are the nature of the word. It's hit and miss, aren't they? Very much so. So, yeah. And what about Argentina? Where did you think their strengths lie, Tom? Where did they win it?
They got this guy up front who's kind of come out of nowhere. What's his name? Messina or something. But no, I mean, I think that they've looked like a real cohesive unit throughout the whole tournament. And that's what you're saying about Southgate, about the way he's kind of kept England's feet on the ground, I guess, at times, and it's just, I think club football and international football just seems so different in terms of the kind of, maybe the kind of person you need leading a team, and like the kind of tactical, whether it's less tactical, more building a unity,
Sure.
and I think Southgate's done really well in terms of that with England, but it just felt that Argentina had a real unity about them throughout the whole tournament, and a certain level of nastiness as well. I think we've all seen a few of the after the Netherlands game, and some of the reactions after the winning the final itself as well. There was a lot of real aggression, but it seems like they channeled it in the right way throughout, and even if it kind of overflowed a little bit at times. So yeah, I think fair play to them, and like the scenes in Buenos Aires afterwards. You've seen that drone footage just showing like millions and millions of them out. Absolutely incredible.
Very special crowd, wasn't it? Very special. And I think the Moroccan crowd helped their team, Howard.
For sure.
They were very they were in numbers, and they were right behind their teams, weren't they? I'm not saying England weren't, because of course we send numbers out there, and typical English support, they support their country. Why wouldn't they? But I was present in Tokyo for Boca Juniors against Bayern Munich some years ago, obviously when I was working in Japan, and I've never heard noise like it. I've never seen a crowd jumping up and down in unison, and the substitutes on the bench jump to the same tempo, and it's just like a whole unit ready to try and beat you. So maybe that just carried them over the line with the penalties and stuff. But yeah, I heard a very interesting statistic today, and I don't always believe in statistics, but I was being told that before the final, leading up to the final, that Argentina had conceded 10 shots on their goal, and yet 9 goals were scored from them 10 shots on target. And here we are thinking, well, the goalkeeper did well. Why didn't Arsenal play him more? Why has he waited so long to get into the national team? I think some manager suggested that he just about got him the sack. I forget which club that was. But what a great save he made, Howard, towards the end of that game. What a save. And was it luck? Was it, people used to say to me, Pat Jennings saves too much with his feet. Guess what? That's a very big asset, because, when you're trying to spread yourself.
Yeah.
But did you get upset by his actions at the end of the?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. What particularly?
Well, when he was talking to the players coming up and threatening them, and just he was making it as uncomfortable as possible for them. And I understand why. I suppose we'd expect our guys to do the same thing, but it hasn't worked out that way. We don't seem to have those kind of players.
Yeah. Who was the Norwich goalkeeper that upset our crowd so much in the penalty shootout in the FA Cup?
Oh God,
Dutch goalkeeper.
Anyway, Tim Krul.
Tim Krul. Yeah. I mean, when a referee's going to jump on this, when are they going to say that is not, call it ungentlemanly conduct, or call it what you want?
Well, on that same note, did you see that every penalty that was given usually end up with during the World Cup, you ended up with the defending team kind of guarding the penalty spot from the attacking team trying to scuff it up or something like that. There's a lot of, like you say, ungentlemanly conduct now happening at these points. And
I think generally, I think I've said this before, but the penalties when they're taken at the end of the game after the penalty shootout, the rules of how a goalkeeper can behave are not followed in the penalty shootout. They are followed if there's a penalty during the game.
Yes, I agree with that. You mean the feet on the line, etc.
Yeah,
it seems as though that goes out the window.
Lloris's feet were off the line for just about every penalty in that shootout. I saw. Whereas, like you say, during the game, they would have been looking at that with a absolute telescope to make sure that everything was.
Yeah, I'm not sure how people are going to accept this, but when the Argentinian goalkeeper threw the ball away, if I'd have been the referee, or what I would have loved to have seen on the world stage, is the referee say to the goalkeeper, "Go and get it." Now, obviously, he won't go and get it. So then you can give him the yellow card. And then when you say it again, now go and get it, having got 1 yellow card. Would he risk getting the second yellow card? Is it in the rules to be able to do that? But I think he could have done the world of football a favour.
Yeah.
Go and get it and bring it back and put it on the spot. Not that the penalty taker will allow that. He want to place the ball himself, of course. But I wish that had happened. That different level, different era, different whatever. But we had this reserve game at the training ground at Exeter, and our centre forward went through, young player, and it was obviously offside. Went up nice and early, the flag, and our player carried on and smashed the ball. I'm sure he wanted to hit the top of the net, but he smashed the ball and it went over the bar and a long distance. And the referee said, "Go and get it." And our young player said, "No." He said, "I'm telling you, this game will not start until you get that ball." and I applauded the referee for it.
Yeah.
I mean, is it in the rules? Is it realistic that should happen? But sometimes you wish that the game went a bit more gentlemanly than the way it's going.
Yeah.
So yeah. So on to goalkeepers, and someone mentioned Loris there. I have been a voice of saying I don't think the goalkeeper should be captain. And if the penalty shootout had gone the other way, Loris would have been the captain of the World Cup winning team. So how stupid am I? But I still stick with the point that I think a goalkeeper is a specialist player. Harry Kane is a specialist player. I think the captain needs to be a bit like myself, in a way. I know I'm talking myself up, but I was a sort of, could have been called a jack of all trades, master of none. But that meant I had an opinion on everyone's game. Yeah. And I think that's part of being a captain. Yeah. I think you know, would I tell Harry Kane or would I tell Jimmy Greaves, not that I was captain in that era, would I tell them how to take a goal? No. But I'd like to think that you can give advice on a general way. Would I tell Pat Jennings how to keep in goal or Ray Clements? No, absolutely not. I might say, Pat, we need it quicker. Okay, that's a tempo thing. It's not a technique thing. But I think the captain has to have his finger on the pulse of how that game's going and how the players can affect how that's going for the future, in the future of the game. So I wasn't happy for Loris to lose the World Cup. Absolutely not. But I still come back to the same thing. I think the captain needs to be in and around the action. So yeah. So on to Spurs. We've obviously got a start against Brentford. Are you going to the game, Howard?
Can't get a ticket there for love or money. 17,000 crowd, nothing.
Yeah. Is that what Brentford holds now? 17,000.
Yeah. It's around the corner from Tara and Matt's house, so it would be nice to have a 5-minute walk to the ground, but it doesn't work out.
Well, my only involvement in the game is that I've done a piece for the programme because I think they call it Kings of the Castle or something like that, which is the ex-managers have a say in various programmes. So they chose for me as an ex-Brentford manager the Tottenham game. So I'm happy to have given my views on that. I'm not going to the game either. But yeah, I hope we start off the second part of our season well. Have either of you seen much of the warm-up games that have happened so far?
No.
I watched the first half of the Motherwell friendly, and I saw the highlights of the Nice game the other day. So I can't speak with too much qualification. Sure. But I did see
the boy, isn't he?
Doherty goal machine. Doherty. Yeah. Is it? I still know. Is it Doherty or Doherty? Anyway, goal machine. I think he's got like four goals in three games, and saw a really nice move, which is I'll send you guys the video if you haven't seen it yet. But there's a really nice move out of the back during the Nice game, which ended with Doxy playing Brian Hill in for a shot which was saved. But
fantastic.
If we can pass the ball throughout the rest of the season like we did in this one move, then we'll be very happy. But
those games, were they played on the stadium or were they training ground games?
The training ground game was used for Motherwell.
Yeah.
Okay.
The stadium for Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nice have got one of our ex-Premiership
Ross Barkley.
Premier League.
Yeah.
Barkley and the goalkeeper.
Oh, Schmeichel, yeah. Schmeichel, yeah.
So Nice must be a fair level in the.
I think that's 9th is on the mid-table.
Oh, they're mid-table. Okay, so not the biggest of tests, but
no.
Of course we were lacking our end of the World Cup players, weren't we? So, Harry, how do we think he's going to react to being the villain of the piece with a penalty miss?
can't help thinking that there's nobody else better able to cope than him.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be absolutely fine. I think if we get a penalty against Brentford or Villa, I think he'll just step up and smash it in.
Yeah. I think the test comes if we get 2 penalties.
Yeah.
What the direction is from the bench, what the direction is in the planning, and Harry's own decision, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we wish you well with that, Harry.
Yeah, big time. I think after the he'll get a good reception when at the Villa game. I think the whole crowd will welcome him back with open arms, and I think especially given like some of the abuse he's got even from the blooming ITV commentator on the night. Hopefully he'll come back to Spurs and know it's where we love him, and
sure,
we'll really welcome him back with open arms and cheer him on to hopefully get us into a really good position by the end of the season.
We've got a run of games. I mean, they tumble one after another coming up. But if we don't close the gap with Scum, then it could all be for nothing the next few weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get off that. Let's get on to life. How are these strikes affecting you both?
I missed a Christmas do in London a couple of days ago due to the train strikes, which is a shame. But nothing other than that. It's more the kind of current flu situation that's affecting us and preventing us from seeing family over Christmas, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame, Tom. But at least we're doing this podcast. It's allowed that. So.
My second family.
Yeah. Howard, anything for you? Postage wise or
a couple of bits actually. I'm trying to remember what I wrote.
Holiday wise.
Comedy wise, we'll come to it, but almost comedy wise, there was a documentary on Netflix called FIFA Uncovered.
Watch that.
And it was terrific. And it's just absolutely astonishing the sheer level of corruption in that organisation.
And arrogance.
And they know they can get away with it. They don't believe any of these people stopping them. And they just carry on. It's just so crazy.
You've convinced me and others to watch it.
Good.
It's amazing. I think it's 3 or 4 episodes. It's very, very good. But then, like, even on did you see during the cup final in the celebrations, they had the Salt Bay chef get onto the pitch and try and get involved. Do you know anything about this guy? He's like
no.
He's I won't get too much detail, but he's the subject of an internet meme a few years ago. He's a guy who kind of like holds his cooks steak and holds his salt over it in a quite extravagant way, and he's got restaurants in London and in the Middle East, and I think Poch has been round to his restaurant once, and very, very, very expensive, and he's become a bit of a kind of like internet celebrity, and he's ended up on the pitch during the celebrations at the end of the cup final, trying to get involved with Messi, and there's videos of him and Romero and Di Maria and co, and it turns out he's just like well in with Infantino.
That's why he was on the pitch.
Yeah, but it's just like, all these guys, it's meant to be surely like the pinnacle of a player's career to touch this trophy, and you've got this guy just running on and somehow getting involved for his Instagram feed. It's quite astonishing.
I didn't like the cape situation on the presentation of the World Cup.
He got rid of it as soon as he could.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
No,
didn't like it.
Yeah, it's quite comfortable.
To put our World Cup on in the middle of a season hurts, but to then see the World Cup used in a certain way, that there was obviously some message involved in all that, wasn't there?
Yeah, subliminal message.
So anything else, Howard? Postage hurt you or?
No, the rest of it's been okay, I think.
Brilliant. So I was 71, as I said, the other day. I had my phone go and a no number. I very rarely answer no numbers, but because I have certain hospital appointments, you have to, because if you're going to get a phone call from your doctor, it's normally that way. So I answered this, and guess what? It was Gary Mabbott wishing me happy birthday.
Oh,
And I think he's phoned about 8,000 such people. I said, Gary, I'm very impressed that I'm on someone's list with my birth details, the birthday details. And he said, Steve, you're not on anyone's list. You're on my list. So very nice. Very, very, very respectful. And we had a good conversation. I was happy to speak to him. But just imagine how those people feel when they get a phone call from a person like Gary Mabbott. I mean, there's a closeness there, isn't there? He tells me he said he could write a book about their stories of how and why they support Tottenham.
yeah.
He actually said, it'd be quite nice for the director level of the club to hear
to get involved.
Some of this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When I was 10, Steve, I was a member of Junior Spurs, and Gary Mabbott was the president,
Skipper.
I think, at the time. Yeah, he was skipper. He was skipper of the team, and he was president of Junior Spurs, and I won a competition to go and kick the ball around at Chase Lodge. By drawing a picture of my favourite player, who was Gary Mabbott. So yeah, because when I was obviously I was born in '82, so I was kind of really getting into the team in the late '80s, early '90s, and he was just real legend to me. And it's just amazing that he's still so. It's not a surprise, but he's just still so well respected by the fans, and
absolutely.
Just every time we hear him speak about Spurs, his love for the club comes through, and the fact he's done this, like say 8, 9, 10,000 phone calls he's made, especially during COVID as well. I think he was ringing people every day.
That's where it started.
COVID.
That's
exactly.
where it started.
But yeah, what
a great idea. I wonder if it was his. I should have asked him. I wonder if it was his idea, or but Gary was telling me that he spoke to a chap 85 years old before me, and he said all the chap could speak about was Steve Perryman. So we obviously had the same birthday. So there's a link with you, isn't it? The player to the supporter, same birthday. So
what does everybody think about the time, the clock situation, where the other people monitoring out the amount of time the ball's in play?
I liked it. It is another way of stopping the bit of nonsense going on.
Yeah.
Game management, etc. And we've spoke long and tough about this in the past, and it's anti-football.
Yeah,
absolutely anti-football. It's non-football, and we don't want it.
I think what was really interesting about it was that, in the Premier League, we almost accept that in the first half there's going to be less stoppage time than in the second half, and it's almost like it's subliminal in the referee's mind. And there's always going to be probably more substitutions in the second half or whatever, but they will never give more than 2 or 3 minutes at the end of the first half, whereas the refs to get the games during the World Cup, it was literally like it was out of play 10 minutes. There's 10 minutes of stoppage time.
Sure.
In after the first half.
Why not? Don't sell people short. It's about getting value for money, and that's on an entertainment level. It's on a time level. What did you think, Howard? Were you pleased with it?
I was pleased with it. Yeah, glad to see it happening. I think it'd be better to have the clock running, showing on the pitch. I don't see why.
Yes, I agree with that.
So that would be my first thing. And my second thing there is that I've left the subject again.
No problem. Chaps, listen, thank you very much. I've actually got family here tonight. I've got my 2 daughters and their chaps staying with us. So thank you very much. So I'm going to go. I want to mention 2 situations, both concerning England selection international. One rugby. Steve Borthwick, who I think is a friend of the podcast. For those who've heard his interview before, been made England coach. Brilliant. I'm so pleased for him. Lives local to me, my wife, and our families have things in common because he worked in Japan as I did. And the second one, very sad, is the passing of George Cohen.
Yeah.
George, nice man, lovely man. I didn't know him too well, but he passed away today, and now there's only 2 left of the 11.
Which one's not there, really?
So Jeff Hurst is still with us, of course, and Bobby Charlton. So
Probably not well, is he?
not well. But I heard today on the news that George was vice captain of the England team. My memory doesn't stretch back that far as a young chap watching the 66 final. But does anyone have an image in their mind of George Cohen on the pitch and how he was?
He struck me as a very straightforward, honest player who did what he was supposed to do.
Did his job.
Yeah. I'm surprised he was vice captain. I never knew that. Yeah. And he wouldn't have been the player that I'd be choosing myself as vice captain. Sure.
Solid, very solid player. Yeah. George Best said he was the best fullback he'd ever played against. That's some accolade. And so really sad for his family. And George, I mean, loyal to Fulham. I think he just had one club, didn't he?
Yes.
So when you think about you win a World Cup winners medal and you stay with your not so glamorous club, that says something about his loyalty. So really, really pleased for that. But the other image I have, and I'm talking over you, Tom, because of were you around in '66?
Just before my time.
Yeah, was the picture on the pitch of him going to exchange shirts with the Argentinian player and Ramsey stopping it, pulling the shirt back away from the Argentinian player because he thought they were cheats or whatever. So, but just to add to that story, Rattan, who was the man who supposedly caused all the trouble, was also a very big player in the fact that we signed Ozzy and Ricky. So he was behind the scenes of it all. And according to Keith, both Keith and Ozzy, a very, very nice guy, but he obviously didn't play nice. So well done, Argentina. I think I've said it before on here, pound for pound, not a particular player against another player, but pound for pound in terms of competitiveness, ability, toughness, the overall all-round player. I think that pound for pound, Argentina, the body, the mentality is as good as any player in the world. So I'm not sure what people will think about that. Maybe you can discuss it amongst yourselves. But yeah. So thank you for being part of this, chaps. I've missed you. We've been away and been having a rest. So now we get back into these podcasts. And yet, Howard, you've seen the 81 book. Have you read through it yet? Have you enjoyed it?
I've been picking it up every other day, sort of thing.
Brilliant.
Funny things. My personal trainer saw it the other day, and he's now buying one for his dad.
Brilliant. Yeah. And Tom, I've got one for you as a present for your hard work for us on the podcast.
Look forward to receiving that.
Something for you to look forward to.
Yeah.
So great to see you, chaps. Really happy we're back in play. And remember, come on, you Spurs.
We should say well done to our World Cup winner, Romero.
Yeah. And Richarlison, by the way. Richarlison got the goal of the World Cup, didn't he?
So what a goal that was.
What a goal. When you hit I've always thought about that technique. When you hit the ball on the side, your head doesn't move, which is part of hitting the ball correctly, whatever position your body is in. But in a way, when you're on the side, your head can't move. You have to concentrate on that ball. And that's why usually there's a good strike. So good point. Good point, Tom. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Tom. And regards to your families, have a very Merry Christmas, everyone. Have fun. Don't drink too much or eat too much. But if you're not driving, then do so. All right. Up the Spurs. See you later.